All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thursday, April 17th, 2025 at 5:32 PM. Uh, first item on the agenda, public participation. Did we get anything, Ann or Anna?
No public participation,
No.
besides who's on here now.
Yep. I do see some folks that have joined us too. Okay. Is there anyone on this Zoom call that's not part of the stormwater hearing or the water sewer abatement that was looking to speak?
Hey,
No?
this is Michael Powers of 30 Stark Ave. We are neighbors with in a butter,
Yep.
and we have had some issues with water here in the past, and there's some other things going on behind our property that I wouldn't mind speaking about. So
So, and that's in regards to the stormwater hearing, right?
exactly.
Okay, so I'll give you, once we go into that, you can speak.
Okay, thanks.
Give me 1 second here. Okay. Okay, other than that, did Bill Renaud, did you want to start off with the stormwater hearing and give us a rundown?
I think, well, we have Attorney McGrail here that's representing the applicant.
Yep.
So I think he'll give a quick overview just to let you folks know. So obviously my staff, my staff has been has reviewed a couple of iterations of this. So at this point, we're comfortable with the proposal. And so I'll turn it to McGrail to kind of go through and kind of highlight the proposal.
Sure. Attorney McGrail, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail. I'm here on behalf of the applicant Total Temperature Control, which is the owner of the property. It's located off Charles Street on Lancaster Road. It's shown as lot 164A on the Wakefield Assessors Map 19. Total Temperature Control is the current owner. It's probably going to be transferred to a related entity. This is certainly a pretty minor development. It's a construction of a single family dwelling. That's it. With me today on behalf of Total Temperature Control is Brianna Marchon, and Gordy Rogertson is here from Hayes Engineering. As I've mentioned, we submitted a plan, and we also have submitted a full stormwater report and stormwater management plan. And we're simply seeking a land disturbance permit and a stormwater management permit under the bylaw. We've submitted the plan in advance. If you'd like me to share the plan, I can. That's up to you, Mr. Chair.
Will it let you share yet?
Do you want me to, would you like me to share the plan so you can see it?
Yeah, sure, if you'd like to.
Yeah, that's fine. Just give me a second.
I can see it.
Great.
Brian.
Yeah, super. Thank you. So this is the plan. As I said, it's pretty basic. Construction of a single family dwelling. We've got some stormwater control on the plan that was designed. Not that it's relevant for your board, but this is an oversized lot. It's in the special single residence district. It's only required to have 20,000 square feet. It actually has 28,000. So it's a pretty good sized lot. It's going to meet all the zoning requirements. This is all part of the stormwater management component, the erosion control plan that was submitted by Hayes Engineering, and the stormwater detention details, which, as Mr. Renaud said, have been reviewed in detail by his department. So again, I think with all due respect, this is a pretty straightforward request, but obviously we're happy to answer any questions that the board might have, and any technical questions, Gordy is here to answer as well.
Did anyone else have any comments or questions? I know we had an abutting resident too.
This is Bill Mercurio. I'm at 40 Stark Ave. The house is going to be right behind my house.
Yep.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I've been all on Zoom calls, but I couldn't type all this in. I'm on my phone. I do have some concerns, but I don't know if this is the right meeting. I mean, they've been working back there for 10 years. Originally, it was conservation land, and the land was probably 40 feet below my level, but it's been backfilled, and it's going to be pretty high, sitting directly behind my home. And right on the property line, I think, and there's a retaining wall. So I do have some concerns that I've brought up before. Is this the proper forum to bring them up as far as water and how close it is and how high the wall is? And
Say the wall, but the stormwater stuff for sure.
stormwater?
Yeah, yep, that's what.
Well, we
this-
have, this is a wet area. Everyone has sump pumps down here. It's a lot of ledge behind me. You've taken out probably 100 trees that were back there, and that's a lot of absorption. There's a natural run of water that comes down. This can only make it worse, in my estimation. But so that's a concern I have. But apparently, it's been addressed.
Yeah, so they provided
Also-
us a stormwater management plan. So I'm the town engineer, and
Yeah.
my staff has reviewed it. Based on current conditions versus the proposed. Essentially, what they have is a basin to retain water, and then they also have an underground infiltration system that will capture the roof runoff as well. So all the stormwater on this is going to some type of treatment system. So what you have today for flow. This is the way that they've designed this. It'll actually be less flow going to you than what's coming to you today.
That's good. I think I've spoken to you over the years. That's good to hear. Hope it is in actuality it happens, but you never know, I guess. Okay, and there's a retaining wall that's going to be right on my property line. I think I don't know if you could address that or the height. I think
It's
I'd asked
4 feet.
Brianna. She wasn't sure.
4 feet. So it's a 4-foot retaining wall. It's not on your property line. It's offset. So if you look at the plan, see where your shed's
Yep.
shown right there. So your shed actually is on the applicant's property. So you can see there's a
I
buffer.
don't want to concede that point. It's close. When I had this surveyed, it wasn't, and then it got resurveyed by the other guy that owned it. So I'm not sure, but we've spoken about that. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're showing the control of the lot line corners and everything. So, I mean, regardless, according to their plan, it's offset from the property line by a good, it looks like 5 feet or so.
Oh, the wall.
The
Okay,
wall is
well,
offset.
5 feet.
Yeah, 5 feet onto their property.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell by the plan, but okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Just curious. Is there any reason? I mean, you got a good sized lot. I guess you could have put it somewhere else, but it's just going to be right in line with mine in my backyard, pretty much. But I guess it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, was there any other comment?
Chris, I'm wondering, Bill, can you just review what is going to be required for maintenance, for long-term maintenance of the stormwater structures?
Yep. So what they do is they have an operation maintenance plan that's included in the packet. So as part of that, there's an annual, there's a series of different things that they have to do. So they'll be looking at the underground infiltration system. They have to maintain the basin as well. And then they provide us a report annually that lets us know that has actually happened.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, can we ask a couple of questions?
Oh, Chris, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just identify yourself, please.
Sure, Brian Long and Heather Marino.
And
We,
your address.
what's that?
And your address, please.
Oh,
Sorry.
75 Holland Road, we abut the property in question. So my question is not so much about the property of the house, that's all fine. My questions regard more, if you're talking about stormwater, how do we talk about stormwater on a street that isn't finished?
What do you mean? So
Does
Um,
this, does this street have a, does it have a permit? Has everything been inspected so that we can figure out how much stormwater when they do these calculations and stuff? Because as far as I understand it, the utilities have not been inspected or done, which, you know, I'm just curious about that is, has there been a permit pulled for that? Were they inspected? You know, do they meet the safety issues and all that stuff?
And where's the stormwater runoff for the street? Has that been addressed?
Yeah, so their system that they designed looks at the stormwater coming from the street as well as 67 Holland, as portions of that actually flow towards the site as well. So they looked at all of that, basically everything that contributes to it. For the roadway, this went through an A&R process with the planning board, and they determined that the road as constructed was suitable for this to be a buildable lot. That happened, I want to say, prior to me being here. So as the work was going on with some of the clearing, we identified the need for this stormwater permit. But there already was a permit process to allow this to be a buildable lot and to subdivide to make it into the two lots that are there now.
Okay,
Regarding the
so
ut-
can
regarding
we
the
be,
utility, let me
Oh,
finish
sorry,
with
go
the
right ahead.
utilities. Yep. Regarding the utilities, those were all installed prior to me being here. When I was on site, when this work started, all that stuff was already installed, predates me. We have some changes that we required them to do, extending the sewer up to their lot. We have some other stuff that they had to do with the water as well. So, you know, basically taking it from where it is today to the building we've reviewed, and we're comfortable with it.
so that's all been reviewed and that's all been signed off and there was a permit for this road?
There's well, again, it goes through the planning board, so it's a planning board process. And the
Okay.
planning board could have determined that there was not that the road wasn't suitable or for access to the lot. And at that point, they would have had to go through a full definitive subdivision review. They didn't do that. They didn't determine that that was the case and that was needed. So because they made the determination that that it has suitable access, this can be moved forward as a buildable lot.
So when are they gonna finish the road?
They said they determined that the condition of the road as is suitable for access.
So as an engineer, the town engineer, do you know where the electrical conduit is?
I don't work for the electric department. So
But
we have
you're
a
the-
gas
you're
and
the
light
town engineer,
department.
correct?
So we have a gas and light department for the town. They
Yeah.
manage the electric and the gas.
So you're the town engineer though, right?
Last time I checked, I was, yeah.
So have you seen where the electrical conduit is?
Again, it's not my utility. We don't maintain it. We don't,
I know you don't maintain it, but have you seen where it is?
I have not.
Do you
I
know it's in-
wouldn't look at the electric utility.
Okay, do you know it's in the conservation? It was done on the fly on a Saturday morning before anybody saw it? Wasn't inspected?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm
Well,
not
stuff-
All
following.
right, let me ask then a question on that. It is all still related to this because it is the stormwater on the road and I'm concerned about that. The A&R process, I guess I'm lost there and maybe you just help me out with a little bit and it might be a little bit off of this, but it is related. I'm not understanding how they said that will this be a road or is this a driveway?
I mean, it's a roadway. They're calling it a road.
They're calling it a road. Does that
They
mean the
called it a
town
road.
takes care of it?
Say it again?
Does that mean like the town takes care of it or do
Nope.
they have to like do their own thing on it?
It remains private, so we don't maintain it.
So you won't plow it or anything like that? And where does trash get picked up?
For the lot? Where's it get picked up today?
There is no lot back, there's nothing back there,
So
so
if they're picking up
that's
your trash,
200
they're gonna
feet.
go and pick up the trash in the same spot they pick up yours. The wheeler
So
stuff,
they, so this lot would have to take their trash barrels 200 feet down this Lancaster to out to the end of Holland if,
If that's where you're putting your trash, then yes.
but I'm on Holland, I'm not on Lancaster.
So there are people that are on Lancaster, so wherever they're.
Nobody
putting their
lives on
trash,
Lancaster. It's not a real street yet.
it's
you
not-
been out
Paper road.
It's
been
road,
determined-
Lancaster
It's
Road.
been determined to be acceptable as a roadway to access the lot. I've said that like 3 times. now.
To access the lot. Okay, that's fine. You want to access the lot. I guess it goes back with stormwater. I wanted to make sure that it has been inspected because my property was affected, both safety and all sorts of stuff when this preliminary work was done on this roadway / driveway. So I wanted to be clear in my own mind and just ask, what is it considered? It's considered a road because, I mean, I think you're pretty aware that my husband's a builder and I'm not, but Brian McGrail understands, we've been through this a few times and it just seemed to follow a different set of rules. And I wanted to be sure that if you are worried about stormwater, and I have seen the people on Stark Ave turn into swimming pools with storms, that I just wanted to see how all of this worked. And, is it a driveway? Is it a roadway? And how are the first 200 feet of that before you even get to that lot affected by their stormwater containment? How was that dealt with? Because I didn't realize that this was actually considered a road. I wasn't notified of anything like that. And, I guess maybe I don't have to be, but I'm just curious.
Who signed off on the utilities?
Again, it predated me, so I don't know.
But you don't know, so you're allowing this, but you don't know it was signed off or not?
He isn't allowing.
I mean, sir, there's plenty of utilities that have been signed off on or reviewed or installed prior to me being here for the last 7 years.
But
No,
you don't
I
know if it's been installed, you don't know if it's been inspected or not?
Well, then who
Do I
would
know
we-
if it's been inspected?
Yeah,
Again, I wasn't here, so I don't
okay,
know.
so shouldn't we know to see if it's been inspected?
Well, who do we ask?
Who do we ask? You're the engineer, so.
Is that the correct department to ask?
I can go through my records. I wasn't prepared to outline the inspection schedule for all the work that had happened prior to me being here.
I think what I'm getting at is because you are worried about stormwater, the people in Stark Ave are worried about stormwater. I think it's great she's building this and I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job and it'll be a wonderful addition to the neighborhood, but it needs to be clear what this is for a road and all that maintenance, because there are safety issues with that. And, let me find out, tell me who I go to find out about this so that, we can be clear what it is.
Well, utilities is the town engineer,
Utilities are?
yes.
Okay, so.
Are they not? You? Bill?
Some of them are, and we have a water and sewer division that also is part of it, so it's a combination.
So what
Okay.
what do you inspect?
Typically, anything that's new being installed, so we would inspect the service for this when it goes in,
Water and sewer?
the water and the sewer service, yeah.
Yeah, so you
And
do,
the stormwater.
okay.
We'll
So
do that, and we'll review the
Could I just
soils.
jump in as a member of the board here?
Yeah,
Um, the hearing, I believe, is specific to the stormwater permit. And so I'd like to make sure we're limiting the comments. I understand there are concerns about stormwater, but if you can just keep your comments related to stormwater, because the water and sewer utilities are not really part of the hearing that this board has within our purview.
Okay, then I'll come back to my question about the first couple 100 feet of Lancaster. Is it still called Lancaster at that point, or is it Doncaster? Is it Doncaster off of Holland, or is it Lancaster all the way off of Holland? Oh, no, I see Doncaster to the right. Okay, so the first couple 100 feet of Lancaster, what is the water runoff for that?
So there is a stormwater, I'm aware there's a stormwater system, there's like an infiltration trench that was done. I don't know when that was done, that was like in the 90s.
But shouldn't we know this before we go forward with the lots?
We're looking at the permit that's in front of us, which is this lot.
I guess what the fear is this, you go forward, she built her house, that's wonderful and all that good stuff. But then there's really no remedy once it's done, when there becomes this problem. So I just kind of like clarify, that's all it is, clarification. Point me in the right direction. Tell me who I need to find out, who, was the permit on this road given, when was it given, when were the finals on it, and all the inspections,
inspected it?
who the inspections, and the dates and stuff of the inspections. Because we've had engineers up here many times in the back with different, variety of stuff. So
No one's-
if I can just get, dates and who it was and, all these things were done, then I'll be comfortable that stormwater runoff on Lancaster is not going to affect anything else.
But we should,
Because I don't understand why you'd want a house to have to absorb all that stormwater from a couple 100 feet of Lancaster down the street. I mean, that's kind of far away.
This is on the-
Mr. Chair, can I shed some light on this?
Yeah, please do.
If This is pretty straightforward. This was an approval not required plan. The plan, it's a private way that's recognized at the registry. It's recognized by the town. It went before the planning board years ago, before my client even buying this lot. At that time, as the town engineer alluded to, the planning board had to make a determination if it was entitled to an A&R endorsement. That means approval not required. So that they made a determination at that time that the condition of the roadway at that time met the requirements to qualify for an approval not required plan. That's it. Any lot that's on an approval not required plan is a buildable lot. So as far as drainage on the street, further down, with all due respect, my client has no obligation to that. My client has an obligation to their lot, and that's why they've applied for this permit. We've heard the town engineer say they've actually gone above and beyond, because any drainage from Lancaster Road in front of their property, they're actually accounting for that and if put that into their system. But with all due respect, what's happening further on down Lancaster Road, we've heard this isn't going to have any impact on it. We've already heard they're putting a system in that's actually going to make it better, as the town engineer stated. They're not responsible for further down Lancaster Road. That's a town issue that is beyond the scope of this hearing, Mr. Chair. It's really not up for discussion for this hearing. And it's just not a subject matter.
Hey, Brian, this is Mike Powers at 30 Stark Ave. So what if the repercussions, the stormwater doesn't work on Stark Ave, including my property or my abutters? What happens then?
Well, I mean, what I'll say to that, Mike, I mean, that's a private property matter, but you've got a site civil engineer stamp on here, Peter Rogan from Hayes Engineering. They're probably the most respected engineering firm that practices in the town. You know, I've done multiple projects with them. I've never had a design that they've done not work. So, and I'm not saying anything can't happen, but God forbid that happen, then you know they can't shed water on your property. You would have private property rights to seek damages or whatever the cause was.
Okay, well, that answered my question, because my next question was, sort of like, what are the reparations if this bill does do worse damage to the neighborhood? We would have, because the town your engineer doesn't know much. So I'm not sure if people have come to the neighborhood and spoken to people about the issue here. So, but if that's the case and it does cause damage, then we'll have to revisit it, I guess.
The private property matter, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, with all due respect, Hayes Engineering knows a lot. I mean, they're probably, they've designed infiltration systems a lot bigger than this. This is pretty small to them, and they're pretty good at what they do, and pretty thorough. So I would be pretty.
Brian, have they come out here and looked at the land and inspected it and looked at the surrounding neighborhoods and all
But
that?
yeah, they have, Mike. They've actually done test holes out there. That was all part of the process. They actually, that was part of their design. They had to take a look at the soil conditions, and that was part of and not only did they have to do that, they did that in the presence of the town engineering department to verify what the soils were that they determined out there. So the answer to that is yes, they have been out there multiple times.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering those questions, Brian.
To our abutters.
This is Brian Long again, towards Bill. So I agree with it. It's a beautiful house. Brianna's gonna do a nice job. Hayes Engineering does nice work. Everything about them is good, like Brian McGrail says. My issue goes back to the street. How can we build something when the street hasn't been signed off? Or Bill doesn't even know if it's been signed off? How can we give a building permit if we don't know what's going on? Are we just turning a blind eye to this?
It was signed off. It was signed off by the planning board through the approval.
Okay, I understand that, but you turned it into utilities. Who signed off the utilities? Did anybody look at the utilities?
I mean, I'd have to go through my records, I mean, and see what we
I
have.
mean, this is something I think.
I don't have it at the meeting right now, I don't.
Yeah, I think this is something we should look back at and see what this was signed off on.
And
I
I would
mean,
recommend
I
to
saw the-
Brianna to look into that.
I saw these utilities go in. It was shameful what they did. As a builder, I couldn't do that. When you put electrical conduit into conservation land on Saturday morning and bury it real quick, that wasn't inspected. So that's where my issues are. I want this thing to look right after it's done. Brianna wants it to look right after it's done. So it's not so much her lot, it's the roadway. Where's the top coat? They approved a road without a top coat, just a binder?
when an A and R plan is signed, Brian, they don't, there's no, as Bill Renault said, if you have a way existing in the town of Wakefield
Mhm.
that is on a plan, and the planning board at the time determines that it meets the requirements to have access to the lot,
Yep.
they sign the plan with there's no requirement to do a top coat. The street is. There's plenty of, I've had A&R plans signed in other towns with dirt roads and they build houses on them. It's private
All right.
ways. That's just, I mean, that's the state law. That's how it works.
So who do I talk to about the safety of the wall they built?
Well, again, I mean, that's outside the scope of this hearing. I don't even know what wall
Yeah,
it
this
is.
this is a stormwater hearing.
I understand that. But none of these questions ever get answered. You go down to Bill's office, you always get passed along.
Well,
He's very,
Well-
he's very busy when we go down there.
he's
You're
very
like,
busy every
let me
day.
get off the bat.
You can set up a meeting and I'll make sure I'm there.
I'm meeting. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Can they hear me?
I'm hearing somebody.
Thank God.
Oh,
Hi, this is Kathy Patnod Cummins at 34 Stark Ave. I just
Yep.
want to reiterate what everyone said about the storm damage. Several years ago, we went through this. We had a lot of erosion in our backyard with the water coming down, straight down past our shed. I just really want to make sure that this isn't going to happen again. Because I thought I was going to lose my shed because there was so much water coming down. It was like a river. Hello?
yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Nobody responded. So,
I don't think there's a question.
I was waiting for you to be completed.
oh, yeah. I mean, I just want, I don't know how we can be assured that that won't happen again. Was all this storm drainage stuff done after we had issues 3 or 4 years ago? I don't know.
Well, right now the lot's not built, so this is the proposal.
The road. The road is the problem. That's been the problem since they've started doing this. The runoff, they raised the road up so much, it's like a 45-degree downhill slope from that road coming down to Stark Ave. So it's like a river of water coming down, taking out everybody's backyards.
Okay. And so, the other lot still has to be built, correct?
This has nothing to do with a lot. We're talking the road. We had
Right, but the
conversations
lots
with the
between-
engineer of Wakefield 3-4 years ago. I believe it's prior to you, where you guys actually did a cease and desist on the road because they had no permits to build it, and you guys told them to stop building. Now that lasted about 6 months, and they started building again. They went and put fire hydrants in without the fire department's approval. You guys did a cease and desist again. They messed around with that road. They keep tinkering with it around your guys not watching it. And then you guys tell them to stop, and they stop for 6 months, and then they start bullshit again. I'm done. I said my piece.
Thank you.
Thank you for what? You didn't say a word.
Thank you for speaking, actually. I don't think I was looking for a comment like that to be wise back either. And you're swearing at everybody at the meeting. So
I'm
if
sorry,
you
sir.
could
We're just a
please
little
stop.
frustrated.
No,
This has
let me
been going on
finish.
for years.
If you could please just not swear at everybody that's volunteering their time at a meeting. This is a stormwater hearing, okay?
That's
I'm not
exactly what we're talking about, Chris, is
Okay.
the water.
Okay, what you're referring to something 4 years ago that this board didn't have in front of them.
Actually, it wasn't 4 years ago. It was last.
That's
I
what
think
I'm
it
just
was
no. That, I'm
last
just going
summer.
off what I was just told.
Okay, relax.
I think getting back to the issue at hand here, any approval for the road itself and any approval for anything that is outside the limits of this lot and the stormwater on this lot is just not something that our committee can comment on or have an opinion on. We were not asked. It's not within our purview to have reviewed the road when the private way was accepted. None of this is something that we can even comment on as a board. So, I appreciate that there are concerns, but they're not something that we can weigh in on tonight. And I think with regard to what I'm seeing and hearing from the stormwater plan is that the stormwater system hasn't been installed yet. So, you know, we can't comment on the storm that has happened in the storms that have happened in the last several years. But what we can comment on is that the plan in front of us from Peter Ogren, who I know is a very high quality professional engineer, it proposes improvements to the stormwater compared to what exists right now. So if anything, you should be seeing an improvement. It has an infiltration system, it has a detention pond. It gives the water a place to go, whereas right now it might be running off to the adjacent properties, and this will channel it toward this underground system and this surface system that should bring it away from your properties, if anything. So, you know, and to the point of whoever asked earlier, what if it doesn't work? I mean, I think we have to have a certain level of confidence that when we review a plan that's stamped by a professional engineer who has experience, that the plan is going to function as designed. And obviously, as the lawyer stated, if it doesn't function as designed, that becomes a private legal matter that, you know, has to be dealt with between the residents who live there. But obviously, we don't want to get to that point. I think we have what looks like a solid design that the city has reviewed, the town has reviewed. So I just want to make sure that we're only commenting on the things that we actually have the ability to review.
I'd like to say to that, I agree with what you're saying and all of that stuff. My problem becomes this: you can't build good on top of bad. And I do believe that we've got bad beforehand. And thank you, Brian Grail, for clarifying the A&R issue. Somehow the other that went by us and we weren't able to, you know, get our concerns expressed and dealt with at that time. I don't know what remedy we have. And I would say to Brianna, please be careful. You're going to spend a lot of money. You're going to try to build a beautiful home. You're a local girl with a local family and a local business, and you're choosing to come back here for a specific reason. You don't want a disaster on your hands. Make sure that all those utilities are correct, that things are the way they're supposed to be, because we know what we've seen with our eyes and we know what our property suffers from. And if everybody is saying, well, you know, the A&R is done and we're going to give this approval, and I'm sure that Hayes has done a great job, and maybe you're absolutely right that now that this new retention thing is there, maybe Stark Ave will have a wonderful, you know, dried up period now because Brianna's built this retention thing. But if everything else underneath it fails beforehand, you know, that's just my concern, is that we're just paving over, not doing anything when we could have before. And now we're just saying, well, okay, we got it right. And I would caution her.
Let me ask Brian McGrill a question. You said an A&R plan's been signed off on. Did it have to be inspected? Did utilities have to be inspected in the street?
No. No, the board at the time, Brian, determined that everything was sufficient at the time that the planning board endorsing it.
Did it have to be inspected though, is my question.
The utilities?
Yeah.
No, Brian, those are not part of an A&R plan.
So
I'm just curious, can you elaborate on what utilities it is that you think were improperly installed?
how about
Water, sewer,
and
electric.
Just the basics.
And these are services coming off the street into the house, or these are the mains in the street?
The mains in the street that he put in.
Because I'm seeing on the plan, there's an 8-inch cast iron water main. That can't possibly be new if it's an 8-inch cast iron water main.
It was new. It's about 5 years old, 8
No,
years
it's older
old.
than that.
This road's been going on for about 20 years now. He comes up for
Least.
6 months. He'll do a little word on the slide. He'll go away for 5 months. He'll comes back for another week on Saturday morning. I'm telling you, the road is not right. It's been approved for an A&R. It's been slid in. I'm a builder. I like the building. Brianna's gonna do a great job. But this road is a Mickey Mouse situation. I don't know how they got an A&R signed off on this. And you just tell me, so someone just taps into the town utilities and no one inspects it?
I
There's a
will.
bill-
We inspect them. I mean, I can tell you since I've been here, we do.
I will tell you. Well, you haven't been there that long, but I will tell you that Brian is right, because my property is like right across the way from Brian's property. I moved here in 1999. They've literally, I think, is it Nardone? Not to throw names, but the property keeps being disrupted and built on and stopped for 6 months and built on for and stopped for a year. It's crazy, like what is going on? And you know, we don't see the exact thing that Brian sees because he's a builder, but this has been going on for 20 years.
So just out of curiosity then, if you're concerned that the water and sewer systems weren't properly installed, I mean, the water system is connected to the town's water system already. So if there were problems, you would know. There would be a water main leak or there'd be water bubbling up in the ground. And with the sewer, is your concern that the wastewater is not going to successfully make it from the house to the main on Charles Street? Or I guess I'm trying to figure out what do we think was done incorrectly? Again, this is outside of the stormwater. So now I'm just curious as a resident and a member of this board, what is the actual concern with the utilities?
Well, Brian Lawn just told you.
Well, he said they were improperly installed, but I'm saying that the water main, if a water main's improperly installed, you would know by now
No,
because you would have.
That is totally
It's not turned,
incorrect.
it's not turned on, it's shut off on Holland Road. It hasn't, they couldn't get it to chlorinate. The town engineer should know on looking at his records.
And
So the water is not active on the street?
It's shut off on Holland Road.
it would be a big disservice to make the erroneous assumption that you would know by now. That dig a little more in, learn a little bit more about that, and you'll see why we're so concerned.
How do you put electrical conduit on a Saturday morning in conservation land down in the woods, in the wetlands, and then bury it up quick before anybody comes in Monday and nobody knows it's there? The town engineer doesn't even know the conduit is for the electrical. I think this is something he should be looking at.
He doesn't look at electric. That would.
That's the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department, but
He's just,
I mean, it sounds like,
he's not.
it sounds like,
Go on, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I can add this. I've talked to the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. I didn't talk to them about electric, but I talked to them about gas, and they have absolutely no issue with the gas line in the street.
Yes, it's fine.
I don't, was
Where's
there
the
even a
water-
gas line that ran down there?
How if we just look at, see who signed off on the water and sewer?
Yeah, I mean, we can look through that. I mean, I'm not in the office, so I can look at it tomorrow if you
I think
want.
that's something we should look at and see if this has been signed off, because this thing's been going on. Nothing goes in for a couple days, they bury it back in. Now we're
You muted there, Brian.
There you go.
for 20 years, it just slowly gets put in 20 feet here, 30 feet here. Now we're at this point right now, we're trying to get a house in. A lot of the stuff has been snuck in.
It should be quality stuff that's going in because she's gonna build a quality house. And all of us around it will benefit when everything is done well. Again, it goes back to what I'm saying. You can't build good stuff on top of garbage. If you don't have a solid foundation for what you've done, you're only gonna have a problem.
I want
The
to see,
people on Stark Ave have a problem with water ongoing. Hopefully Brianna's thing will help, like they mentioned, but I don't understand how, I wouldn't want to see us as a town say, okay, until everything is ready. It's not right.
and
It's not
I don't
right.
know how this A&R has been signed off on my wall that's out there with 15-foot drop off and nobody put a fence up. How did that signed off? Were
That's-
they,
that's
were they
just-
the eyes closed when they drove up the street? That's a big, huge safety issue. Huge safety issue. But we have a signed A&R.
We have a signed A&R that's 7 years old. So, I think this, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, I think this is getting a little bit out of hand because, we're talking about issues that have, they're just different concerns that aren't part of this hearing is.
Okay, so you're right, Brian.
Dallas pointed. I'm just, it's just not, it's not a subject matter before this board.
You're right, Brian, but let me just say one more thing, then I'll let it go. So Bill, the town engineer, is gonna sign off on this. I don't know how he can sign off on this when the street's not right.
So, Bill, can you just confirm when the water service and the sewer service from this proposed house are tied in to the main, there will be permits, they'll have to get permits to install those utilities and that will be inspected. And I would imagine, the water main, if it's really been inactive for, if it's never been like chlorinated and tested and all that.
They'd have to pressure test, they'd have to chlorinate, they'd have to have that pass. Yep.
Yeah, so all that will happen.
Yeah,
Right.
And if it doesn't pass, then they would have to replace the water mains because they wouldn't have water service.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the answer here is that as part of the approvals for this house, separate from this board and this stormwater hearing, there are approval processes for water services, sewer services, probably something through Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light for any gas and electric. So that should all be confirmed at the time when those permits are sought, which won't come back before this board. That's all internal process with the town.
I mean, we're looking at 2 more houses after this one's built. Because he never got.
We only have this one house right now on the agenda that we're talking about, that we have in front of us with information.
We
So
have to
I'm
look
not,
at the future and open our eyes sometimes too.
I'm not sure about another lot. I can't speak on that or what else they're gonna build. That's not, that doesn't fall under what we're talking about.
Let me ask you guys that, town engineer, and you, Chris. Is the A&R signed off? Is there another lot on that street or 2?
Yeah, there is.
Okay, very good.
Well, I'd just like to say this, Brianna.
I hope Brianna does a good job. I appreciate that she's gonna be building a nice house. I'm not against that. I just want her building something that's.
Brianna, I would suggest strongly that you follow up on this. Brian knows what he's talking about. He's not going to steer you in the wrong direction. You know that personally. Please find out about all of this stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll look into it, right, Brian?
Yeah. She's asking.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Yep, it's another matter for another day.
So we will see if those street signs have been signed off. Utilities,
You can go down.
is the
Yeah,
bill?
yeah, do you want to make are you available tomorrow?
Absolutely.
What time do you want to come down?
You tell me what's good for you.
Why don't we say 11? That'll give me some time to go through the records.
I'll bring you a coffee.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So,
I'm
Chris, I'd like to make a motion to approve the stormwater permit.
Okay, you got a second as well. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Shane McCarthy's not here tonight, so he is excluded from this vote.
And it sounds like with the meeting tomorrow and everything, hopefully everybody's concerns can at least be, further addressed outside of the board, and hopefully you'll get the answers that you're seeking.
Mr. Chair.
And I know there was some stuff brought up that's kind of outside of our realm here with the board, but I do like to try to let everyone speak, especially if there's abutting neighbors. So thank you everyone for your patience and for letting everyone speak as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I respectfully request a vote on the land disturbance permit component also?
Oh, yes, okay. I'll move to approve the land disturbance permit as well.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2-0.
Thank you for everyone's time, consideration. Very much appreciated.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the list, water and sewer abatements. Ann, did you want to kick us off?
Yes, so first one is 15 Marion Circle. They had a very large bill and on their June last year bill, 24,600 cubic feet. So I think everyone's packet included their letter. One of the issues I see with this one is that they have a irrigation system that ran 3 days a week, 20 minutes for 5 zones. So that's 100 hours a week. So I'm guessing that's the culprit, although they said that they had people come to their house and that there's no leaks or anything. It does sound like me. It would either used a lot or there's some type of leak in their irrigation. I don't
Did
know.
they
if Steve has more to
Did they submit any like bills from a irrigation company or anything stating that everything was all set?
They did not.
And then Stephen, I don't know if you guys were out there. They mentioned that water was there.
Hey, everybody, how are you?
Good, how you doing, Steve?
Great, hey, Chris.
Hey, guys. Hey, and so, I see a sheet in this packet that Susan All supplied, and it's a sheet from the Census Analytics. And you're showing that spike in the May, June, and July of 2024. And then shortly after that, little bit in September, and then right back to normal use, which is obviously indicative of irrigation system. Not that I can 100% say that's what that is, but I agree with you. That's what that would definitely lean to. We're going to move to another one of these accounts after, and it's going to sound repetitive. I also see in Susan's package, she supplied a picture of the meter at the house, and that's a Census iPearl meter. That's a static electromagnet meter. That's one of the newest technology meters that they have out there, and it is extremely unlikely. I have never seen one of them operating erratically or flowing without flow through them. One of the things, and I'm going to repeat this when we talk about the other residents, is on these disputes that people file. I understand they want to file them, but we would always suggest that they had the opportunity to test that meter third party. Now, I've been here just about 30 years and never seen one test fail. They could have the meter tested third party. If the meter tests and it tests fine, then the resident would have to pay for the test added to their bill. If the meter were to test and fail and would be off any percentage or whatever, we, the town, would pay for the test and we would pick up whatever that difference in the failure of the meter was. My advice to the resident or anyone else, strictly my advice would be, you would be throwing good money after bad. It's not going to test bad. But you have every right to do that if you want to. And at a situation like this, I believe that would be the only step left that could be exercised to come to a final decision on this, or you would have to just agree to the fact that the water that was measured from this meter flowed through this meter.
Thank you for that. And this is one of those, and correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, is this like an example too? You put the new meter in and sometimes it's even more accurate than what was there, over time.
Yeah, well, this meter here, this meter wasn't just put in. So this meter had a little bit of history with it. So it's not like this is one of those situations where that meter was changed and all of a sudden, right from that point, they said that we see a difference in volume of use. That's not the case here.
Okay.
This is, and again, you also see this quite often. The time of the year that the consumption goes up and then drops back off. It points directly to that it would be irrigation. I don't know, maybe it could have been some other leak. But nevertheless, all that I can tell you is that what's measured by that meter traveled through that meter, was consumed in the household, whether it was used for a good purpose or whether it leaked into a toilet or an irrigation system. There's no way of me actually telling you exactly what happened there, but I can tell you that it passed through.
Steve, can you just clarify, one of these reports says in June 2024, there's a note that says watering new seed. where does that, or Anne, where does that information get, how does that get into the system? And, is it possible that they just set their irrigation system to run more often because they were watering new seed and didn't realize how excessive it was?
It does seem like a lot to me, 20 minutes, 3 days a week, 5 zones, because that comes out to 100 hours a week, which it seems like a lot to me.
Yeah.
Almost has to
But
with those higher readings too, That's a
I'm curious
significant
though,
amount of water.
yeah, the note though, it looks like this note was written in June 2024, which would have been right when they got the high bill. And somebody put a note in the account that says watering new seed. So,
So we would have called them to say it was a high read, and then they may have told us that when we were talking to them. They're like, oh, we just seeded, you know what I mean? And we're like, we try to give them the heads up, maybe slow it down a little bit because you're having high.
yeah, I mean, the fact that that was the first thing they said when you called them
Yeah.
makes me think that that's really the answer, that they
Yeah.
were doing a whole ton of irrigation, not realizing what the bill was going to be, and then they dialed it back, and then they still used a good chunk in the next quarter. But I mean, all the historic reads, they have 2 quarters of like reasonable amounts of water and 2 quarters of, even without the huge amount in the last 3 years before that, it's still a whole lot of water that they've been using. So they've obviously got an irrigation system that, has the capacity for them to use a whole heck of a lot of water. And then maybe they put a new lawn in or whatever they did. And, I'm not seeing anything here that looks like it's not accurate or needs to be abated.
I don't believe that it's always the resident just using a whole lot of water, like overwatering their lawn. Irrigation systems are also notorious, especially at the beginning of the year when you turn them on, to have leaks. It's just by the nature of the beast, they have leaks, and then you discover that when you see that happen. So it's very possible they weren't just watering an abundance of hours because they didn't care. It's very possible that it could have been actually leaking unbeknownst to them. Either way, it tried through.
I think that's probably the case, but I also think their letter says that they have no leaks and that they had brought somebody out and ruled out the possibility of leaks. And I mean, they seem to be saying over and over again that there are no leaks, which maybe isn't what they should be saying if they want money back.
Yeah, usually, I think it would help too if there was some documentation that was, kind of proving that the irrigation system was working in working order. I'd maybe feel a little more comfortable, not blaming the irrigation system, but all signs point to that irrigation system just by what, is in front of us. That's a lot of zones too. 5 zones every day. If you have a little leak, that's certainly going to add up quickly.
So if we were to, I mean, understanding that this water, it appears to have gone to the irrigation system one way or another, would we consider just doing an abatement on some portion of the sewer fee, just with the understanding that, it could have been a leak, even if they say they don't think it was a leak, it is a lot of water, and it's water that definitely does not appear that it was going into the sewer. I guess I'm curious, Anne, from your perspective, what, having talked to these residents and everything, is your sense that we should be considering an abatement on the sewer fee, or that this is, they can't show that they fixed a leak, so we shouldn't be giving them money back?
It's a tough one for me because I feel like the irrigation is a luxury, and we did notify them and then it stopped. You know what I mean? It slowed right down. So I feel that town did their part kind of, as much as we could. So it is a tough one. They, longtime resident, been around a while. I wondered if we should wait and see when they turn their irrigation back on, if they have a similar issue. What, does it happen again? Do they turn it back on all zones? I don't,
Is there a new, there's probably a new reading coming out, right, Ann? Is there?
Well, I think we would have to wait till the July bill because they'll turn their irrigation, I assume, on in May,
Yeah.
June, and then we'll see something in July. It is tough to give any money away these days.
Yeah.
Just, if you don't mind, yeah, if you do, there is logic to giving some relief on the sewer aspect of it because you're running on the fact that it was leaking in the irrigation system. But if that was the case and you were going to go down that road, then you would have to have a policy for that road, because how are you going to handle the next case and the next case and the next case? So it puts I'm not speaking in for you, but I would imagine it puts people in a bad position for, again, the next situation and the next situation. And so are you going to create a policy that says for the first 1,000 feet, the first 1,000 cubic feet that you happen to have a leak, it's forgiven, but anything after that. So it's not just arbitrarily applied to different situations.
I think for comparison too, I think I wouldn't mind getting some more readings just to see how it does this year.
Sure.
Before we say yes or no to anything.
Okay, we could
Yeah.
revisit it after we get a read for and we can get a few reads as we go along here just to keep an eye on this account so they don't get a huge bill in July if they do have a leak.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
and we maybe let them know. I don't know if there was
Yeah.
interest that would be involved, that we can
Yep,
kind
we'll
of
take
just
that.
hold that for now.
Yeah, we can put that on hold.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
what
a
I was
little more
gonna say, too.
comfortable with some more data
Yeah.
of this year now.
You got it.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
do you need us? So we don't need to vote on anything then now, we just
No, I'll
Yeah,
contact them.
gather more.
I'll contact them and let them know that it went before the board, water was here, the board discussed it, and that we're gonna keep an eye on it till July and then see where we go.
Great.
Great,
Thank you.
The next one is 450 Lowell Street. So interesting enough, we had called them, told them that they had a leak, we think, on their property. Kerry looked at the FlexNet. It showed a change in their consumption. And then it got a little crazy. So our guy went there to check it out because there was an issue. The gentleman who lives there is this gentleman's father. He's like, oh, irrigation just left, that we just shut off the irrigation. So we had assumed that that may have been the issue. They also spoke about a bathroom or apartment that had a leak and used, and they repaired it on December 2nd. Although that doesn't match up with our records as much of where the leak was. Because and then we changed the meter that day and it looks like things went back to normal. So they're blaming the meter change for the leak, but they are talking about a leak in December.
Oh,
But the leak must have been pretty dramatic because we went from a pretty consistent 3,900 cubic feet a quarter to 25,200.
Did they submit any receipts or anything proving that that leak had been fixed? I know the letter says it was fixed.
No, they did not. He may have fixed it himself, would be my guess, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, this one, it seems pretty obvious that something was leaking and that it's gone back down to normal. I don't think it makes sense that it was the replacement of the meter that made it stop, reading too much flow. But I I guess though we normally require some sort of proof, right, that they fixed a leak before we do an abatement.
Yes.
And also this is a leak that would have been going into the sewer. So it's not like it's a good justification for abating the sewer portion of the fee, right? If it was a sink.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't really say what the leak was. It just says that we had a leak in the third floor bathroom, apartment bathroom. So I could get more information if you would like, and then maybe a receipt for the work that was done and what was completed.
Yeah, what have we done in the past when it has been, when they can show that they fixed the leak, but we think the leak went into the sewer? What is our sort of standard abatement that we've given?
And we have given small abatements for that, saying it wasn't our fault. We're willing, $500 or whatever, we'll help you with that, but we don't do out now, because it did go down the sewer, so they can't get it all back.
Right, and it's a difference of about $2,000 over their normal bill. It looks like a little more maybe.
Yeah, correct.
A little more, yeah.
Yeah, I would say if they can give us more detail about what they fixed and if they have any proof that they fixed something, like you said, maybe like a $500, some small amount just to help out
Sure.
seeing that they fixed it. But it would be hard to abate the whole amount or anything even close to it.
Yeah, maybe give them a chance to see if they could, turn something into us.
Sure. Okay, I will contact them and then I'll follow up with you guys.
Sure, great. Thank you. It's good. Okay, next on the agenda we had some minutes to approve, some prior minutes.
Yes.
Two of them, I'm gonna wait because Shane's not here. I think I was out of a meeting and Elena was out of a meeting, so I'll wait till Shane's in.
Sure.
But starting with, we got April, May, and June. So we'll start with April. There's April minutes, April 22nd, that I'd like to get approved. Me and Elena were both at the meeting. All of these actually. So I'd like to get those approved. I didn't know if there was any comment, Elena. I don't know if you had a chance to go through them.
I didn't have a chance to read them in detail, but if you did, for the meetings that we were both at, I'm comfortable with
Yeah.
approval just to keep them moving along.
Yeah.
So April 2nd or 22nd, sorry, 22nd or 2nd?
22nd.
Okay, I have those up here. Okay, I'll move to approve the minutes from the April 22nd, 2024 meeting.
I second that as well. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 2-0, so that's all set. And then the next one was May 20th as well, May 20th, 2024. I'd like to move to approve those minutes for May 20th, 2024. Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. And then the final one was June 10th, 2024. I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes for June 10th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Elena. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. We'll hold off on the March 4th and the August 26th until next meeting when Shane's with us.
Okay.
Okay. Was there anything new, Joe, Ann? I know we didn't anticipate anything, but
What isn't new? I guess that's the question. It's spring, and that's a good thing. So we're looking forward to getting rolling and not getting a bunch of rain washing us out. I think Ann and I are elbow deep in starting to look at the rate setting process. So we have everything ready to go for the month of May. We've been kind of watching that a little bit closer, especially so the previous year. I'm sure you experienced it in Melrose too, Elena. Consumption was pretty low.
Yep.
So obviously every, cubic foot that doesn't come in from a conservation standpoint, it's great. From a dollars and cents standpoint, there's a revenue
Yeah.
component or two that's built in. So we've been kind of paying attention to that, and scrutinizing that even more than we have been in the past. We've also been talking about a couple ideas based on some of the feedback we got last year to maybe, think about maybe presenting essentially the same data that we always do or that we have since we've all been together, but can we make it a little bit more elementary, so it's a little bit more easy to digest? Because I feel like, at least for me, especially when we get going, sometimes we could talk in jargon, and I don't know if that is necessarily translating across to the boards. So, we're going to do some working on that, and then we're hoping that we could have something together where we start at least kind of the first pass with you folks, maybe sometime mid-May, if that works. I know it's a little far out, but by the time we look at it, and it'll be here before we know. So that's kind of what we were talking about just before we got on here. And then everything else that goes on in DPW basically.
I know, did I,
Yeah,
did I miss wasn't there an ad about rain barrels? Is that over yet? Was there a sale on rain barrels?
Yeah, sale on rain barrels and backyard composter. It goes until May 11th.
Oh, great.
Plenty of time. Nice Mother Day gift.
I know, that was a good post to put up too, because I saw it. I think it was on Facebook.
Yes.
Doing some of those things, and I'm looking forward even a little bit further. So we'll be getting close to the point where in trash and recycling, we should start thinking about the next RFP, at least so that sometime, next winter, we could be a little bit more prepared and start presenting some things. So we'll have some conversations to talk about related to that. One of the things in the future that we will see, we're expecting a dramatic shift or potentially dramatic shift in recycling. So we'll basically throw a whole bunch of stuff at the advisory board, work some feedback, throw some ideas together, and then probably go through the same process we did last time, where we put out a pretty expansive RFP and basically ask for a proposal on everything but the kitchen sink, see where we land. So, that's some of the biggies.
Is the major shift that you're referring to, is that likely going to automated collection for recycling or no?
So the feedback that we've got, I guess it boils down to there's three major players now, right, in that world. And at least from two of them, correct me if I'm wrong, and if not all three, have told us directly that they will not bid on any RFPs out there that is not automated.
Yep, because that's what we had in Melrose too. We
Yeah,
couldn't get any
same
bids that
thing.
were not.
So
Okay.
what we're hoping to do is be early to that, because obviously there'll be there's a capital investment should you go that way. We need to buy the carts and all that. So easy to get it out and get it going before the fact. But we anticipate that, that's going to be the case. And I think if anybody was going to bid it to not be automated, they're probably not scaled up enough to handle 8,000 accounts a week, or whatever
Yeah.
we have. So, and the other thing too that we'll see is we're going to go from not paying a processing fee to some sort of one that's in there now. So
Yeah.
that'll be something else that we'll really have to understand and digest as we move forward. So it'll be interesting, to say the least.
At least we already have the trash carts, so at least people are already familiar with them. That should cut down a little.
Absolutely. And I think, personally for me, if you do go automated, I wasn't here for when the trash carts went out the first time, but the debate between 64, 96, some other variant in size, and how you roll that out, I feel like we're going to probably be spending a lot of time on that. So through our group, if we could get consensus and, dial that down to where it's digestible, hopefully it only makes it that much easier as it goes outward. But we'll see.
I think from my experience with every other week collection, you're going to probably have to do 96.
I would think so, especially
And
because
then maybe have an option for people who can't maneuver the 96.
so that'll be like one of the things we talk about. So like on regular refuse, you have the option to have everybody gets issued 164 and you can rent another one. So I think if you're a super recycler, that putting something out where you could rent that would be an option, but I mean, there's a whole, I don't want to be presumptuous, but there's a whole bunch of different things we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
That's really it. Construction will be starting, so we're at the last phase of our road bond, so we'll be re-rating our streets once this project finishes out. And then hopefully moving towards next steps. And outside of that, it's just, keep on chugging basically, for the most part. Not to be naive, intentionally vague, but
Joe, I haven't been paying a ton of attention to the town budgeting, but oh, and I'm getting a notice now that my phone is on 5% battery. So if I lose you, I'll get back on my other phone. But with Stoneham having a failed override and with Melrose having a failed override a year ago and going for another one in November, how's Wakefield right now with with all the increases in health insurance and all these things? Do you think an override is in our near future or no?
so I'm an optimist, so I'll start with that. I think everybody's in a spot where things are tight. I don't think we're in a bad place. I don't think we're in an amazing place either. I think that revenues and different things like that are something that obviously getting watched very, very tightly. Some of the budget presentations I've sat through with the high school and everything like that, like the powers that be are conscious of, fatigue, tax fatigue and things like that. So I think we're in okay shape. I think everybody's kind of got that caution to them. They're kind of waiting to see what drops. We try to be minimalist and turn inside, do as much as we can on our own. Kind of wait to see. The cherry sheets didn't look too bad, but I haven't read through the whole thing. And then town meeting will decide, obviously, on some other things that we may or may not be doing and borrowing for. But okay, I guess is the Reader's Digest of that.
Okay is pretty good these days, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, I couldn't really articulate it any better than that, but that's you're right in the middle. You're right, not too high, not too low right now.
Great.
Thanks.
And then just
Thanks.
before Elena's phone goes dead, could we put a placeholder in for May 19th? It's the
May
week before Memorial Day, and that would get us a meeting with your questions and things like that, and then we'd still have a couple of June dates that we could seal it all up.
I think that is free for me right now, but I will say, well, obviously, and once we get into budget season in Melrose, Monday nights are usually council meetings.
Yep.
So I can't promise I won't have a meeting that night, but I'd say maybe if we meet at 5, that I should be done by whatever time a council meeting might start. Chris, does that work for you? 5 o'clock?
Sorry, I hate to say it, guys. I'm going to be in Aruba.
Oh, nice.
Good for you.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Maybe the week before then, the 12th, sorry to turn my back on you.
Yeah.
My calendar's behind me. The 12th, we could maybe pencil in.
Yeah, I'll do any other date that works for everybody else. And if it doesn't have to be a Monday, if that works for Elena and Shane, let me know. I'll make it work since I'm being the wild card for that meeting.
Where's the invite? What's up with that? We could have done the meeting at the beach.
I heard first night at dinner's on you.
Get me the ticket. Give me the room. I'll buy dinner. I'm there. Be my pleasure.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to a vacation.
So we'll plan on the 12th at 5. I'll let Shane know. I know sometimes 5 is difficult for him, but even if he jumps on a little late.
Whatever makes it work for everyone, I'm fine with.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That one would probably be brief too. We, talk about what we get out to you beforehand, kind of the first temperature in the room type meeting, and then we'll probably really use it to set the schedule ahead. So I think, I believe the council might be actually meeting on June 30th, so that would probably be the big hearing with them. But between now and the next time we get together, we'll have all that locked up. So we could kind of chart out, how we want to space everything.
Great. Okay, well, if no one else has anything else, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.